On Thursday, we have a number of budget work sessions scheduled. And then finally, before January 1st, we need to adopt a budget for the coming year. It'll take effect on January 1st. And then the first couple months of next year, we work hard on closing out the prior year. So vendors and contractors will be submitting their invoices sometimes as late as March. We then take all that information and we put it back into the current fiscal year, 2024, and I work and get the financial audited statements ready by the end of May for the auditors to come into. So that's kind of the process, and then we start it all over again. So we're monitoring it all the way till the end of the year, and then we're folded into the coming year's costs. I'll start tonight with the consumption year-to-date information. This is a 3-year history of each month. And you can see it for the first quarter, the current year, 2024, we were a little bit ahead of where we were the last 2 years. But ever since April, the last 6 months, 2024 has been behind, if not both years, at least one of the years, quite significantly. So year-to-date consumption overall for the district, all of our customer use is down 10%. So what does that mean for revenue? Right now we're sitting at the end of September again, $23.3 million. I talked about forecasting out to the end of the year. Right now my forecast is $31 million for 2024. And you can see we budgeted about $32.5 million. So right now I'm forecasting that we'll be about 5% or $1.4 million below what our budget request was, or budget forecast was. This is mainly due to the weather. We have a little bit of variation each month from cycles, but this year was just a lot cooler. We didn't have a long dry spell. We had rain at opportune times, and so we used a lot less water overall. And a little bit, about $600,000 is attributed to Fidalgo. And those customers are now served by the city of Anacortes. So that's revenue that we lost on the top side. We also had corresponding expenses that went along with Fidalgo, so the net impact to us is more like $400,000 of lost revenue after expenses on just the Fidalgo portion. When I forecast out all of our total revenues, this includes what the water revenues were on the prior slide. But also interest, penalties, service for others, work that we do for other people and get paid for. You see we're about $34.5 million forecasted. Again, we're a little short of the budget, but it shrinks that gap on the revenue side just a little bit. And then on the operating side, we're trending at about 94% through 9 months. So if that continues, we'll end the year at about $18.5 million. We budgeted 20, so we'll gain on the expense side. Debt service is right where we budgeted, $4.7 million. So net income is about $11 million. And again, it's right in line with the budget after all of these net changes. So we're still looking good. On the capital side, we've done $21 million through September. Forecasting out to the end of the year, it's possible we'll get all the way up to $28.7 million, which is almost everything we budgeted. This might be just a little bit high, but it's my number that I use. So we have $11 million of cash flow. We spent $28 million on capital, so the difference here, $17 million, is coming out of reserves. So that's how we pay for the capital projects that we've budgeted for the last several years and also the next couple of years coming up. But that'll be important as we go forward in the next section of the budget presentation. So the budget needs to balance all of our resources with all of our expenses. That includes beginning reserve, that number I just showed you. So I'm forecasting that to be about $22 million at the end of this year to use for next year. And then revenues, so we add those two together. and then all of our expenditures plus the ending reserves, and these two have to equal each other for a balanced budget. So what does that mean? On the resource side, we have about $58 million. Most of that is going to come from anticipated water revenue next year, $33 million or 57% of it. And then the other majority will be reserves, so we have $14 million of general reserves plus $14 million of
That was me, sorry.
Okay, that's right. $14 million of general reserves plus debt service reserves, and then we have an additional $7.5 million of system development fees that we can use for projects that the board approves for capacity or expansion of the water system. We have about $2 million of grants currently on the books already earmarked for the district, and as we spend money throughout this year and into next year, we can draw down some of that revenue. And then all other sources of revenue are about $1.4 million or 2%. So that's all of our sources anticipated and budgeted for next year. Can you forward it, Louise? Just lost power. Okay. So an equal amount of uses, $58 million. The largest portion of the pie is for operating expenses, which is just under $20 million or 34%. And then our categories for major projects is about $8 million. Pipe replacement projects is $5.1 million. The next biggest one is debt service. That continues on for the foreseeable future at $4.7 million per year. Another $1.6 million in taxes, and then this is actually department capital, so this is more operational items, vehicles, equipment that we need throughout the district to keep everything operating. And then we would end the year with about $17 million of reserves. Again, based on the forecast, not only for the revenue and expenses for this year, but then they roll forward into the beginning balances for next year, and then our and forecasting out all the way till the end of 2025 for that $17 million, which will be used for the financial key metrics here in a minute. Louise, can you forward it again, please? The clicker isn't moving it forward.
It's not open. Oh, sorry.
Very good. All right, operations and maintenance budget is $21.5 million. That includes the $19.8 million plus taxes, so they get aggregated into this catch-all of administration. But starting up with the water supply where Judy Reservoir is, when we pump water into the reservoir from Skagit River and or the stream tributaries that we have up there, that's about $1 million of the budget next year. At the treatment plant, $3.2 million, and we'll talk about this. We've added a position at the water treatment plant, so expenses are a little bit higher this year for processing the water and also chemicals and the power to run the plant. Transmission and distribution is about $2.7 million. Customer service includes the meter department and the billing clerk. That's about $2.3 million. And then admin is all other expenses, so IT, finance, HR, we pay for insurance, we pay taxes, and administration for the district, so that's the biggest portion of the pie at $10.6 million, or 53% of our operating budget. Next, please.
I think you should let me do it. No. No.
Sorry? Okay. Next year's capital budget, we have $14 million planned. Again, pipe replacements is a large portion of that. That's our pipes that need to be replaced, working with the other jurisdictions on road projects, upcoming fish passage. That's all included in this $5.1 million. Operations and maintenance projects could be anywhere in the water system. Our facilities, reservoirs, any type project like that. Department capital is 1.4 million. These are smaller capital projects. And then reservoirs, we're doing some engineering work predominantly next year for a planned reservoir in the out years. And then facilities, we have $1.1 million facility project planned for next year. So the capital improvement plan, we basically look at the next 10 years, but I've shown you the last 3 years. So we've been doing a lot of capital improvements the last 3 years, and this year are all going to be over $20 million. So this is about $90 million worth of projects that we've done in the last 3 plus this current year. And then you see we have a small reduction here down to the $14 million, and then we show department capital, this is bottom line, pipe replacement projects, and then all of the other projects are major capital projects. So this year will be a little bit less, and then the next 2 years we have that reservoir that we're planning to do, that you'll hear more about on Thursday during the CIP portion of the budget discussion. But this goes into the financing plan. We want to make sure that we have a way to pay for it. We can cash flow $10 to $12 million each year out of just cash flow. So where we have spikes above that amount, we either need to use rates or reserves or look at financing. So that'll be part of the discussions that we are going through in the next couple of months. But right now we have this funded through our existing reserves and the current plan. Let's say it that way for the time being. We're talking more about that. There we go. Financial policy metrics were developed and adopted by the board prior to my coming here. But these are 4 metrics that look at, again, the forecasted numbers at the end of 2025. So this first one is just a liquidity target. This is all 3 of our reserves added together. We're at over $17 million. And it's just a test to say how much cash would we have on hand, how many days of operation would that be? And if you take the 17 million and divide it by our operating budget of 21 million, we're at 305 days. So almost an entire year of operations without any more revenue, but obviously then we're going to be doing capital projects either. So it's a quick test. Down below that on just the revenue fund balance, we have system development charges and also funds up here and debt service funds. So at the end of next year, forecasting $7.1 million of the revenue fund. We're targeting 2.5 months of operating expense and 2.5 months of depreciation, which equals $6.3 million. So as long as that revenue fund balance is forecasted to be above that, that's meeting the requirement at that point. Debt service coverage is one that most people are familiar with. This is the net operating income, so total revenues minus operating expenses. Based on the budget is $14.6 million, so that is our debt service for next year. So we have 3 times the necessary coverage there for pay our debt service just on our operating net revenue. And then rate funded capital. Again, it's a metric chosen to just represent, are we replacing, are we doing enough repairs, are we putting in pipes that, projects that are at the end of their useful life. The metric is just what we're depreciation each year, $9.1 million, and we have that $14 million anyway planned in capital expenditures. So we've done an awful lot. Like I said, we're over $80 million for the prior last 3 years and this year, so we're definitely catching up on all those projects. The transmission line obviously was the biggest, close to $40 million in total cost. Our building is also one of those larger projects, and as we keep replacing and working through the system, we want to make sure that we're replacing them ahead of failure. We were just talking about that before the meeting on life cycles and when we're getting close to the replacement and then making sure that we're ahead of the curve. The budget that we're proposing tonight includes a 5% rate increase again this year. If we adopt that, it would increase the average or typical residential bi-monthly bill every other month to $149.27. That's up from $147, so it'd be a $7 increase each or every other month. So you can annualize that, it'd be about $45 total in an annual increase. The breakdown is the fixed cost, which is $82.67, and then we have 3 units with each tier each month on this average or typical type residential usage. The graph or pie chart on the right is what you're purchasing for that $149 each or every other bill. You basically, operation expense is $72 of that. Capital is $29 plus pipe replacements, another $18 there. All 3 of these capital projects and department capital add up to 36%. So 36% of your bill is just going to replace the capital that we have throughout the system and keep the system going. Debt service is $17 of each bill, and taxes is about $6 of each bill. So that's what you're receiving for that service. All right, so the budget schedule is prepared for now is October 8th is tonight's public hearing, and we'll take public comment tonight right after this. On Thursday at 4 is the first work session, and that'll be the capital improvement plan, engineering, operations, and also human resources will be presenting their budget request and their department information. And then October 22nd is a regular meeting. There isn't any planned budget discussions for that meeting at this time. And then we'll have another work session October 29th with all the other departments. And then we've reserved November 5th as an opportunity, if needed, for another work session, and also at the regular scheduled meeting on November 12th. If the board is ready, there'll be a budget discussion and adoption, or we can spend more time discussing the budget at that time. Questions for you, and then we'll open it up to the public. Any questions?
I don't.
I think just a few things jumped out at me. I think the biggest one being the large change in the CIP for 2025 through 2029 that added up to approximately 23.5 million different from what was proposed in the 5-year rolling for 2024's budget. So that number definitely shocked me a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what a lot of that's coming for, and then as well as the plan for 5%, to have more discussions on increase for rates, and then same thing with the operating budget. It seemed a little bit high. Again, I know a lot of that is due to our 3-year COLA being so high still, but just trying to figure out ways that we can lessen the burden on our ratepayers over time.
Okay. So I think on Thursday would be the best time to address the changes in the CIP during that discussion. There has been some changes in the prioritization and just what got moved forward. Overall, it's actually less than that for the 10 years. So there are some differences on when the projects are scheduled for based on the needs, but we'll talk more about that on Thursday. And then there's lots of different information. I know you had your budget and we're looking at it over the weekend. So in the different categories, I just tried to highlight some of the main changes from last year to this year, but we're happy to go through those too with you. So,
Sounds like a plan.
all right, I will, sorry, that's right. If people want to make comments, or if anyone's listening online, they can send to me or the board, whatever they would like. My email address will be up on the website, or my phone number. They can leave a message, and we'll just take public comments throughout the whole entire 6 weeks that we're talking about this, or longer. So I want everybody to have an opportunity to make comments if they'd like.
Very good. All right, so the public hearing is open. I don't see anybody in the room that is probably gonna offer comments. There's nobody on Zoom. So if you do wanna make comments, the comment period remains open as we discuss the budget going forward. So at this time, we will move into the general manager's report.
You're closing the hearing?
Yes, the public hearing is now closed.
Sure. Be happy to give you a report of what's going on. Got a few items tonight. I'll give you an update first on the new buildings. The plan was initially to start moving on October 14th, but that's been delayed to the 20th. The contractor has some significant punch list items that he needs to do, including some fiber network connectivity, all the workstations, some building security, or reconfigure some of the office furniture and cabinets. So that's going on. The IT staff is already transitioning into the new building. They've moved into a couple spots and they're conducting system testing and getting kind of the front edge, the bleeding edge of the move. So they're doing that. And then tomorrow, L&I is scheduled to sign off on the elevator, and the fire marshal is supposed to bless the project, and then we should receive a temporary certificate of occupancy. We want to get that elevator in because we've got some copiers and some different things that need to be moved to the second floor, refrigerators. So we're hoping that all goes well tomorrow, and then we'll continue to look for the 28th to get start moving stuff in. Yeah. Then service line inventory. The crews completed the service line inventory before the October 16th deadline. They checked 457 water services and found no lead on our side of the meter, which is great news. We did find 5 galvanized private lines on the customer side, and we will be notifying those customers and providing them with information about lead exposure, flushing the pipes, and further lead. So we're just about, and we will be posting a map on our website here in the next couple of weeks that will identify where we've tested and different things. So this is just an ongoing project. It's going to go on for years. So, and then the Blackburn pipeline. As you recall, back in August, an emergency declaration was made to repair a section of the 2-inch PVC pipe on Blackburn Road that was frequently breaking and flooding the residential unit right in the basement. There was concern there might be some structural damage. Well, I'm pleased to say that line is now installed and it's working properly, and so we're preventing any further damage. So that's all really good. And that is what I have for you.
Do you know when we're going to end the declaration of emergency, or we can plan possibly for our next meeting? Has everything been paid out on that, do you know?
I don't know.
So the contractor has completed the work and it's all tied in. We don't anticipate making any additional purchases. Part of the emergency declaration was for permits as well, just so that we could get in there and allow the contractor to move forward. We're gonna the contractor will just bill us directly through the developer's agreement that we have. So it's a development project that we dovetailed with. The emergency declaration let us select them as the contractor to do this work as well. So I think we could close
Yeah. Next meeting.
it. There's nothing exceptional going on anymore.
Great.
Anything else? That's all I have for the minute.
Thanks.
All right, seeing no new business this evening. There's a couple of informational items in there. Commissioner comments?
I just want to thank everyone that went to Spokane for the water conference. Again, it's always a delight to hear the district's praise far and wide, and also for everyone coming back. Because the first time somebody gets poached from that conference to another district will be the last time that everybody's going. So we'll start doing them here and down the shorter routes. But no, it is always great to hear so many great things about the district. It is a testament to the good work that you do Really, when people have questions, they call here first. And it's nice to see that at the state level, but it's on you. So very well done to the group here for that.
Yeah, very good. All right, so with that, we will convene a closed session for RCW 42.30.1404A to discuss collective bargaining matters. And the session is expected to last 15 minutes. And we will reconvene the meeting at.
Actually, you can just adjourn the meeting, because this is the.
There's no
closed
action,
session.
no action after, so we will just adjourn the meeting following the closed session.